Narrating.
Hey guys, we're back. This is Fallstreak. Tired. My footsteps falter to a halt almost immediately after I start walking again. The adrenaline from earlier had long worn off, leaving my body in an achy half-daze. Too much had happened. It was wearing me thin. Hear me, Aid? Aid! Huh? As I trek through the rain, I belatedly realize there's someone at my side. Ah, good morning, Aid. When she finally gets my attention, she swells with such delight I can't help but imagine a wagging tail behind her. Oh, it's Larah. The familiarity of Larah's greeting brings me such ease my legs almost buckle beneath me. Burying my head in her chest, I wrap my arms around her. Do you want a hug? I don't want to get you all wet, though. It's okay. Kind-hearted as always, Larah powers down and returns my embrace. What's the matter? Did something happen? Yeah! When she's least expecting it, I blow a puff of air into Larah's ear. You're so sensitive, Larah. Anyone would react like that if you just blew into their ear all of a sudden. You're such a bully, Aid. Whew, that was a close call. Anyways, let's be off. We're already running pretty late. Well, wait up. Is Noletta not with you today? She's sleeping right now. Huh? I spent all morning trying to drag that sleepyhead out of bed. It's a shame. I had a great prank planned on her today, too. You shouldn't tease Noletta too much. She's so innocent she'll believe anything, you know? Though I know it's offhand comment, I shudder at her words. The reason behind Noletta's naivety was heart-wrenching to think about. Well, if you insist. Standing on my tippy toes, I whisper into Larah's ear. I can always reserve all of my teasing just for you. Yeah. Why are you being so mean to me today, Aid? You should be grateful. People are like onions. They need to be shaken up occasionally, or else they go transparent. No, I think the phrase is people have layers like onions. The nice thing about onions is they become sweet when you cook them. Don't cook people! Anyways, bullying Larah is fine because she likes it. In fact, I think I'll start charging you for my company. You're charging me for a friendship tax? Also, I'm not a masochist. Seeing Larah's panicked face really calms me down. Her presence had a soothing aura to it that made you feel like doing your best. Thanks, Larah. Our silly tete-a-tete had helped me gather the drive to brave the day. Huh? Did you say something? Mush. 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 Mush! There's no time to waste! Why are we running? I don't understand. The revolution waits for no one, Larah. I'm so sore. Suddenly taking off into the rain may have been a bit ill-advised. Are you hurt, Aid? You're limping a little. Just a pebble in my boot. Don't want to take it off right now since it's raining, so I'll wait until we get to Miss Faye's house. Oh, okay. Upon making it to the usual place, we spot a pair of rowdy twins splashing around. It seemed they were putting their rain boots to good use to make the most of the occasion. Noticing our approach, Kalia kicks one last geyser of rainwater at Triss before turning to us. You guys are late. You know how long we've been waiting here? And where's Noletta? Triss grudgingly wipes off his dripping raincoat as we're instantly barraged with a series of complaints. Noletta's not joining us today. She's glued pretty tight to her pillow at the moment. Her loss. Miss Faye said she had a special new story lined up for us today. I hope it's a nice and cheery one this time. Nope, she told us to bring a pack of tissues so you wouldn't soak her nice furniture with your bawling again. Is it too much to ask for a happy ending? Well, off to Miss Faye's place we go then. Yeah, enjoy dawdling. We've already wasted enough time. Oh, enough dawdling. Let's go, go, go! Our destination locked in, Kalia slips ahead and urges us to start moving. Skips ahead. Why can't I read today? Gotta go fast, huh? Sonic. If one were to behold our group from a distance as we went, they'd probably see a bit of a strange sight. While Larah and I strolled along the path like normal people, the Larah twins had other plans in mind. Kicking up streams of water everywhere they go, they hop to and fro like overactive bunnies. Pya! No, don't splash me! Naturally, we end up getting caught in the crossfire. I wonder, if Noletta were here, she'd probably be stomping up water spouts alongside the twins, dwarfing anything they made. Always imitating people, always so curious. That she was not here together with us, it felt surreal and a bit hollow. Laughter, cries, shouts. I watch on from the side, a lighthouse on a far shore. Under the cold rain of a dreary overcast sky, they danced, lively and carefree. They danced in opposition to stagnancy, coloring over the monochrome world with their vibrant acts of life. But I was not there with them. My heart was in a different place, sitting in a dark room by a certain someone's side, watching as they slept. Wait for us, Noletta. Triggered by the door's opening, a little bell chimes out to signal that guests have arrived. Miss Faye's abode was not a normal residence by any measure, a fact any entering visitor was immediately made acutely aware of. The first thing one ever beheld upon stepping foot in her home was the breathtaking sight of towering bookshelves sprawled out before them. It was no overstatement to say the Fayroe house owned and administrated Sacatrine's largest library. The large central room we were in easily dominated the majority of the building, containing everything from recently bound novels to dusty tomes that spoke of ancient history. It was a place that bled an otherworldly sense of mystique. Hello! Kalia's announcement of our arrival reverberates through the massive room. Donk! A sound like something hitting wood, followed by the racket of collapsing books. Rounding the corner, we discover Alouette swaying amidst a pile of fallen books with stars orbiting around her head. Oh, you surprised Alouette. Are you okay, Alouette? Didn't you hear the bell? Alouette had her head in the bookcase, so she didn't hear. Taking care not to step on any books, I pat Alouette on the head. Padapion, pain, go away. Thank you, Aide. Aside from her job at the Morella Bakery, Alouette also held a job working here under Miss Faye. Dealing with such a hefty workload day to day, she's quite the workaholic, isn't she? They're all out of order now. Turning to the nearby shelf, Alouette begins the painstaking task of reorganizing the books in their proper order. Do you want us to help out? It'll go faster if we chip in. But Alouette shakes her head. No, can't lend a hand. If not in right order, Belly will scold Alouette. Scold! A voice speaks up from behind as Alouette rather humorously impersonates an angry Miss Faye. I do not sound like that. Also, don't make it seem like I bully you all the time, Alouette. Miss Belissaria Fayroe, the influential heiress of the old aristocracy House of Fayroe. A crisply dressed woman with roseate eyes, she was a childhood friend with Papa and the Lyrit's dad, Atun. She was also Mother's cousin, being one of the few that shared a close relationship with her. After we're done here, I'll stay behind. There were questions I wanted to ask her in light of what I had learned yesterday. Isn't it true you bully Alouette all the time, though? Bullying's such a crude way to put it. There's more than one way for someone to express their love, you know. Belly loves Alouette, right? Yes, I do. Smiling wryly, Miss Faye ruffles Alouette's head. The books, Alouette, is fixing the books. You can leave that for later, we have guests to accommodate now. They'd likely find tea and treats agreeable after their voyage through the rain. Asking for a friend, but who made these treats that are coming? I did, what of it? Guess we're playing the lottery today. How rude, they're ordinary pastries, I'll have you know. I think Miss Faye's cooking is tasty sometimes. Miss Faye was an enigma when it came to the kitchen. While some of the best meals I've ever had were made by her hand, she also holds the title of serving some of the worst meals I've eaten in my life. Probably because she has a tendency of getting bored and turning the recipe into an experiment, adding insane things that make the food bubble, change colors, or even explode. I guess that's just her nature as head of Soccer Team's Chemical Research and Development Department, or Royal Alchemist as she seemed to prefer despite its datedness. Tea and treats. Alouette will bring tea and treats. After stacking the books up in neat piles, Alouette disappears deeper into the building. Shall we retreat to our usual haven then? With a wave of her hand, Miss Fay beckons us further in. A cozy alcove on the second floor, lined with cushions and dominated by a comfy carpet. It was Miss Fay's favorite spot, reserved for her personal use. Upon arriving, Miss Fay settles into her iconic reading chair at the head of the carpet before surveying over our group. I just realized, but is Noletta not here? Noletta slept in, so she won't be joining us today. Is that so? Miss Fay? It's nothing. Was just thinking that you seem to be limping a bit, Aid. Nothing escapes those piercing rose eyes of hers. It's possible she knows more about Project Benair. I should take the opportunity to inquire later. I guess we did go pretty ham in capturing the flag yesterday. So it wasn't a pebble. Are you actually hurt after all? Let me take a look. That really tickles, Lorena. Lorena? Okay. Pari, riposte. Wah! Don't tickle me. Are we tickling Lorena now? Me too! No! Miss Fay gives a little sigh at the scene playing out before her. Anyways, before we settle down for story time, why don't you children give me a rundown of your week? Kalia quickly takes point, chattering on about our construction project, Games Day, and other hijinks as Triss acts out key events in tune to her narrative. Occasionally, I interject, usually to contribute a different perspective from Kalia's, mildly, read heavily. What? From Kalia's mildly biased announcement. But for the most part, I watch on from the side as the Lyrit tag team covers our bases. Eventually, Alouette reappears with a teapot and a tray of sweets. But while the others dig into the provided treats eagerly, I can't seem to work up much of an appetite. Curling up on the carpet, I snuggle up against Alouette's lap. She had taken a seat alongside us at Miss Fay's insistence that she take a break. For that I was grateful, as Alouette's caresses were a welcome reprieve from the day's melancholy. I can't say I anticipated it, but Mother Nature's been kind enough to set the mood for today's tale. Once we conclude our weekly report, Miss Fay begins leafing through a weathered-looking book, causing the Lyrits to shift giddily in anticipation. Much like how Alouette was unmatched in the art of head pats, Miss Fay had no equal when it came to narration. There was something about her intonations that evoked and immersed a universe within you. Like a shepherd herding dreams, she never failed to capture and captivate our imaginations. The story I've selected is a bit darker than what you're used to. I have some reservations on whether or not you're ready for it. If you'd like, I can always choose a sprightlier piece. Is that supposed to be a challenge? You'd better not underestimate what we can handle, Miss Fay. Asking us if we want to bail after dangling bait in front of our eyes is in poor taste, Miss Fay. It can't possibly be as sad as last week's story, right? The curiosity of youth is such a lovely thing. Very well, I'll be expecting a good discussion afterwards then. Our attention fully at her command, Miss Fay clears her throat before beginning. Today I'll be recounting to you a story that speaks of the origin of rain. There once was a village in a faraway land. Its people lived harmoniously off the land, leading happy and fulfilling lives. Life was vibrant and full of color, and children played carefreely amidst chirping birds. But one day, the clouds disappeared from the sky, and rain stopped falling upon the land. The rivers running through the fields dwindled and dried up, leaving nothing for the people to drink. Soon, even the crops began to wilt and shrivel away, causing the people to despair as food ran short. Eking out everything they could to make it to the next day, the villagers managed to endure. But no matter how long they held on, the rain did not come. No matter how much they entreated the heavens, the sky did not hear their prayers. It was when all hope seemed to be lost that whispers of a heavenly savior began to spread throughout the village. Somewhere in the nearby forest, where the foliage had remained green and healthy, there was rumored to be a goddess with miraculous powers, a goddess blessed with the ability to produce streams of pure, unadulterated water. Families with no options left clung to this mysterious rumor, searching the forest desperately for the fabled goddess. Then, one fateful day, a mother whose son was on the verge of death finally encountered the goddess of legend. However, she was no divine goddess with a heavenly aura. She was but a little chipmunk of a girl whose head barely peeked over the shrubbery. "Please save my child," the mother begged to the girl with all of her heart. "He won't respond to me. He hasn't had anything to drink for days." But no matter how much she pled, the girl could not fathom the mother's words. Having lived in the forest for all her life, she did not know of language. However, when the girl saw the boy's wasted body, she was overcome with great sorrow. He was suffering and in great pain, and so, wishing that the boy wouldn't die, the girl leaned over him and began to cry. Big, beautiful tears began to drip from the girl's eyes in unbelievable amounts, trickling through the boy's parched lips. Letting him drink tears as clear and pure as the rain that once fell upon the land, the girl pulled the boy back from the boundary of life and death. The smile of a young girl whose face was still wet with tears, that was the sight that the boy opened his eyes to upon being saved from certain death. Meanwhile, having witnessed a miracle, the mother cried out in gratitude and implored the girl to come back to the village so that she might help others in need. Unable to comprehend anything, though, the girl could only let herself be taken away from her tranquil garden. Her first exposure to the outside world deeply affected her. The village she was brought to behold had become but a wasteland of death and decay. Immense sorrow filled the girl's heart at the sight of so many people suffering. Spreading word of her miraculous, life-giving tears, the mother took the girl into her home as if she were one of her own. Countless came to her doorstep in search of salvation from the unending hell. The girl wept for every one of them, forsaking none in her boundless compassion. By drinking up the pristine tears she shed, the people managed to recover from the brink of collapse. For several weeks, the villagers managed to starve off their deprivation, but though the tears she wept were enough to quench their thirst, their neglected hunger continued to grow by the hour. People whose lives she had poured her heart out to save began to perish from starvation before long. In their desperation to survive, the villagers were forced to break an unspeakable taboo. That taboo was cannibalism. Those that were unable to defend themselves were the first to go. The young, the elderly, the infirm. The girl watched on as a baby was ripped from its mother's arms and devoured by villagers that had lost their minds to hunger. Neighbors that had stuck with each other through thick and thin began to turn on one another, painting the landscape sickening shades. Those scarlet visions tormented the girl, bringing her such anguish that blood flowed from her eyes as she wept before the villagers' withered fields. It was then that, from the crimson tears that touched the cracked soil, flora began to spring up wondrously from the earth. Upon witnessing this miracle, the villagers tried to use the girl's power to nourish their fields. But though the girl wept torrents throughout the day and night at the villagers' plight, it was never the tears of blood that they needed. It was in that hopeless situation that the villagers came to a terrible conclusion. If the girl would not cry tears of blood, they would have to take it from her. The only way to garner the blood they needed was by cutting into her body and draining it. A stone shrine atop a hill overlooking the village. The people locked the girl up there, driving her to a state of perpetual near death as they extracted her blood over and over again. It's the only way we can survive, was how they rationalized it. Whenever it seemed like the girl was becoming numb and crying less as a result, the villagers had no choice but to devise crueler ways to hurt her. It was a wretched state of existence in which they could only subsist if the girl's blood and tears flowed freely. But even then, the girl never forsook the villagers. With a smile that grew weaker by the day, she continued to cry, thinking only of their sake. However, her smile did not ease the villagers' hearts. They feared it, were afraid of it, afraid of what that smile meant, of what they had become. And so they began to chant it, a curse, or perhaps a prayer, to absolve them of their sins. A witch. She's a witch. She's the reason rain stopped falling upon the land. An incorruptible smile that not even layers of blood and tears could blemish. It was the smile of a witch.
And while there were none that could turn a deaf ear to the girl's sobs, which trickled without end from the top of the hill, no one spoke of it.
Their throats quenched and their bellies full, the villagers chose not to see, to not hear. For the land had begun to flourish and regain its color under the nourishment of the girl's blessed blood and tears. At long last, the people had regained a semblance of the peaceful days they once knew. But there were those who could not accept it. Back in the house, the girl had called home since coming to the village. The young boy, whose life had been saved in the forest, asked for his mother. "Mother, why don't you drink?" No matter how many times the boy brought a cup of water to her mouth, the mother would not part her lips. The family had been haunted by the girl's tormented cries for many sleepless nights now. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." As she lay in bed, she would repeat those words to herself without end. "I should have never brought you to the village." The mother had come to view the girl as her own child during the time they lived together. Unable to bear the thought of drinking her daughter's tears as she was tortured day in and day out, the mother had gone without drinking for days. Now on the verge of dying from thirst, the mother spoke to her son for the final time. "Please grant your mother one last selfish wish." "That girl. Do you mean Sis?" "Yes, your sweet beloved sister." The mother grasped her son's hand tightly as she spoke her final words. "Please be by her side." The boy waited until nightfall to carry out his mother's dying wish. Under a moonless, starless sky, he climbed the hill to where the girl was being held. Breaking into the temple, from which countless streams cascaded and flowed, the boy was met with a heart-wrenching sight. The girl's small figure had once been filled with the vigor of youth, but now she was barely recognizable. From hollow eyes that had endured the darkest of human despair, fountains of water were streaming unendingly, serving as the origin of the rivers running outside. "Sis, Sis." The boy struggled to release the girl from her restraints, but it was no use. Hands the boy had held steady as he taught her how to write, they were now twisted from ruthless disfigurement. Wrists the boy had made little bracelets for, from the flora the girl called forth, they were now melded with the blood-stained iron shackling her. The girl stared vacantly at the boy as he continued his futile attempt to free her, unable to understand. She didn't want him to be sad, but he was not hurt or hungry in any way. He had even grown healthier since the last time they met. So why was he making such a pained face? Knowing that the villagers would be back soon, the boy fell to his knees and began to cry. He didn't want her to be trapped here any longer. He didn't want her to be hurt anymore. But there wasn't anything he could do. That was when he felt a light touch on his chin. Clanking her chains as she reached out with what remained of her hands, the girl lifted the boy's head and began to weakly wipe away his tears. When his vision cleared, the boy saw that the girl had a beautiful smile on her face. A smile just like the time she first saved him. Even when chains had stolen away her freedom, deprivation had wasted her figure, and abuse had dulled the light in her eyes, her smile had not been lost. More than anything, the boy wanted to protect that smile. And so, with trembling movements, the boy reached out and slowly wrapped his fingers around the girl's neck. Unable to stop himself from crying at the thought of what he was doing, the boy tightened his grip. But the girl's smile never left her. Even as the strength slowly left her body, she did not stop. Wiping away his tears, her hand continued to move. It was only when that hand fell back limply to her side that the boy knew it was over. Water was no longer flowing from the girl's eyes, which were loosely shut in a state of peace. Even now, it looked like she was smiling serenely as she slept. Easing her to the ground, the boy watched on as the artificial rivers lost their origin and began to run dry. Though he knew the villagers would return any moment, the boy couldn't bring himself to leave the girl's side. Before long, countless people swarmed to the temple, enraged that their life-giving water had stopped flowing. They could not forgive the culprit that had destroyed the village's foundation, and condemned them all to certain death. "You killed the witch! You killed the witch! She's not a witch!" To the villagers' outrage, the boy roared back with anger of his own. The girl had wiped away everyone's tears, stopping at nothing to help others in need. But who had been there to wipe away her tears? The villagers seized and beat the boy, dragging him outside and tying him to a stake. Lighting a fire beneath his feet, they threw rocks and cursed the boy as he burned. "You killed the witch! You've killed us all!" Even as his flesh blistered and blackened under the flames, the boy continued to cry out, "She's not a witch! She's not a witch!" In a broken voice, the boy repeated it over and over again. "She's not a witch." But his cries fell upon unhearing ears, until, at long last, he stopped moving. It was then that something impossible began to happen. Something began to fall from the sky. Wet and clear, like the sky itself was crying. It was rain. A certain soul had been bearing witness to the tragic scene. It was the girl who had ascended into the sky upon being released from her cage of flesh. She had watched on as the boy screamed in tear-choked agony. Cursed by everyone, forsaken by the world, he died in great pain, his voice having reached no one. She had watched, powerless to stop it, no matter how much she wished to. And so, with eyes overflowing with more tears than ever before, from heaven she cried. Clouds came and covered the sky, raining torrential swaths of water that swept away all in its wake. The girl wept madly, unable to stop even as her tears swallowed and extinguished all life. She grieved alone in the sky for many years before her tears ran dry, flooding the land several times over. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this episode, so stay tuned for the next episode.
Thanks for watching!